What's up, guys? Alexander Thomas here. Welcome back to Game Time 123. It is the NBL Draft Round 3 and 4. I started it an hour earlier than I thought I was going to because of some mechanical issues that had occurred. So this will probably end around 11:30 versus where it was last night, which was at 12:30 in the morning. So it's 12:30 this morning. So we're going to go ahead and get into the draft starting here. I'm going to get started, and every team is going to have an interesting pick. I will say, it could be interesting to see what these teams were going for. And we'll get started here. Yep. Please. And of course, I'll be keeping a track of every one of the players that they do actually go for. There's still a lot of players out there, and the draft starts in just a few minutes. You guys ready? Good. All right. Draft starts in 3, 2, 1. Stars, you're on the clock. Stars are on the clock at this point in time. We'll see what they go for here. Looking at the stars, I'll go ahead and actually go and put in this one I just put up first is the draft board. The second one is the draft schedule, as the playoffs and the schedule for everyone. And this third one here is going to be the roster and the roster, retirement player list, free agency needs. If you want to take control of the team, you can do so. If you at any time, just remember that the season does start in approximately a little more than 2 months from now. And trade block is currently still closed, so we'll see shortly who the Stars go for. Stars right now, it's kind of difficult to say what they're going to go for. And they are going for Joniet Merritt. And it will be Bears turn on the clock. Don't know who the Bears are going to go for here. There's plenty of options that they can go for here. I'm thinking Bears have selected Jake Kelly for their second pick. 95 overall offense. Very good player for this context for it. And the Warriors are now on the clock. I was going to start this was supposed to start at 10, but it was moved forward for certain other reasons that I can't really go into the details on. I don't know what Warriors are going to go for. Honestly, if they're going to get something, they're going to go for whatever they need in the first 2 rounds. Not in the later rounds. Trudy Claus, or Case, or Cause. Okay, further confirm. Trudy. It's confirmed. The Kings are now on the clock. Lipa Yang has been selected by the Kings. I hope I pronounced that right. I think it might be Lapai or Lipi Yang. May have pronounced that wrong. Hopefully I didn't pronounce it too wrong. Nice. The Lightning are now on the clock. It's going to be interesting to see what these teams go for, because there are some players on here that just are in awful condition looking at their ratings. But players do have days where they're just not as good as they are supposed to be. Like, we have several players on here that are 56 overall, so even though they're probably a lot better than that. Jesse Norman has been selected. Jess Norman surprisingly was not selected in round 1. It's one of the highest overall players are left in the draft. The Hawks are now on the clock. Rebecca Strickland, selected by the Hawks, if it's confirmed. Rebecca Strickland has been confirmed. Legends are now on the clock. And some of these players are just not going to get selected too, because there's only 160 players that get selected tonight. So it's going to be some of these players are going to be here next year, 1 year older. Maybe they'll have a better chance at getting selected. Danny Perkins have been selected by the Legends. The Dolphins are now on the clock. I bet some of these players, even if they are high overall players, are just not going to get selected. Like you got Gilmore or Orlando. Both of them still have not been selected. They're still high overall players. I take that back. The Dolphins have selected Orlando. Orlando Morgan's been selected. Great selection for the Dolphins. They needed a good player for it. And the Dragons are now on the clock. Still a lot of very good players here. And the Dragons have selected Marty. I don't know how to try to pronounce that last name. The Werewolves are now on the clock. Luz Dickerson is selected by the Werewolves. Luz Dickerson, number 277. These are just draft numbers, they're not specific. That was when they were the player they were drafted or played as during that. And I just selected the order when they were going for. And the Ravens are now on the clock. Okay. And the Ravens have selected Chris Walston. It's a great player. I'm surprised that person didn't go earlier. Okay. The Bulldogs are now on the clock. Bulldogs have made their selection. Claudia Everett. I also right now Clever Everett was definitely a player that should have gone way earlier. She's one of the best players. She had a perfect score on most of the events that she went through. For the offensive side, not as good of a defense, but that's not that bad of a deal for it. Falcons are on the clock. can't make trades. No. Falcons are trying to make a trade, and they can't do it because the trade block is closed throughout the entire draft. They're going to take a while, probably. Peyton Minty, selected by the Falcons. Peyton Minty, fascinating player to go for. Not the highest rated overall player, but a very good player still. Think of it this way: certainly some of these teams have way more picks in the later years. Bobcats are now on the clock. I'm taking a look at some of these players. For example, next season the Panthers will have 9 picks this next year. Some of these teams will have less picks. Like the Hawks will only want their first, second, third picks, not their fourth picks. The Lynx will have their second, third, and fourth, but not their first pick. Stars have selected the Bobcats have selected Roman Shepherd. Roman Shepherd has been selected. Very, very good player to go for. Probably should have gone slightly earlier. I'd say probably around 2, but didn't go that early. The Angels are now on the clock. And Melissa Tuttle has been selected. Some of these teams are going a lot faster than others. Melissa Tuttle. Great player from the Orange team. Had a all-time record for the Orange team in most points scored in a single season. That was taken for a while there. Foxes are on the clock. I don't know who the Foxes are going to try to go for. There's a lot of players out there still. Back to round 1. A lot of players did make some really good selections. For round 1, they'll be updated. They're not updated right now. They'll be updated probably by next week. but we'll see. And selected by the Foxes is Des Unser. Des Unser. Been selected by the Foxes. Confirmed. UNC is on the clock. UNC was one of those really good teams back in the day, back in the time. They had 3 appearances when the Panthers, with the Panthers in the Ball Bowl, back when the Ball Bowl was separately different. Because previously it was the ABL and the NBL. They would face off. The winners of those games would face off against each other in the Ball Bowl. If you go back to the, I don't have it on here right now. If you go to the roster, there's a tab for the Ball Bowl. You can see all of the Ball Bowls. And I think UNC has appeared in several of them. Yeah, UNC has actually been in 6 Ball Bowls. They won 2 of them and they lost 4 of them. And all 4 of the ones that they lost were against the Panthers. But they had almost perfect seasons in every one of those times, all of those times. Clint Lucky, I'm pretty sure it was already selected. I don't. Selected by the Bobcats. I don't know why some of these things didn't show up. I just happen to know if these teams have already been selected. I don't know. And they have selected UNC has selected, I don't know how to pronounce her, but Luna is her last name, or Alana is her last name. Yep. Saints are now on the clock. Jaylee Gallagher, selected by the Saints. shocking player to go for here. Jaylee Gallagher is a 56 overall player. The lowest rated player, one of the lowest rated players that you can even go for here. That's a lot to go for here. I'll probably spell it wrong several times before I get to it right. Maybe she'll be a really good player. Maybe she won't be. It's hard to say. But for now, the Saints are on the clock. The Jets are on the clock. I don't know. It's a tough one. Not the person I would have gone for. They chose Jaylee Gallagher. I don't know. That's tough. Maybe they saw something on her that made it like, we probably should go for her and pick her up because it's a tough one. She could be really good. We are in round 3. It's pick 99 right now. There's a lot of good players out there still. I don't know whether any of these players are going to be drafted, which are going to be some good players next year if they aren't drafted this year. The Jets have selected Myla Giles. Great player. I don't know whether she was going to be selected. She was going to be selected or not, because she is not the best player, but she's not the worst player at all, and that's a great pick for the Jets to go for. Cardinals are on the clock. Looking at what the Cardinals have done before, Cardinals' previous selections were Sue Sawyer and Brent Gardner. This will be their first pick in this round. There's still plenty of good players out there just to get them on the right track. They're probably going to need to go for an offensive player, though, in order to keep their game going. Surprisingly, Myla Giles didn't go earlier because she's a great player. She played for the white team in the junior league. Was a very good team leader. Not necessarily the best player out there, but definitely a good team leader for it. Lonnie Sanchez has been selected by the Cardinals. Defensive player. And confirmed, Lonnie Sanchez will be a Cardinal. The Beagles are now on the clock. And the selection is Kerry Ashley. Kerry Ashley has been selected by the Beagles. Very good offensive and defensive player in both sides. Not the best defensive player overall, but definitely a good player to go for in this position. Probably going to be a really good team leader if they need to have someone step up. Lions are now on the clock. We're at pick 101. And the Lions without much Jepson. They selected Jepson. Jepson Ardraff. The Wheeling Cats are now on the clock. Wheeling Cats selection, Helen Robertson. They're definitely not going for a defensive player in this case. Helen Robertson is not the player for their defensive position. She's definitely an offensive player 100%, and she's not good with defense. The Athen are now on the clock. The Athen without selected Ty Jarvis. Giants are now on the clock. It's hard to say what they're going to go for here because the Giants made the playoffs. They were able to beat out the number 1 seed. Giants beat the Indians. It's hard to say what they're going to go for here. I say they go for a defensive player, but that's what I would say. Defense struggled a little bit on that game. They're going with they went for defensive player. Ronan, definitely defensive player overall. And the Pirates are now on the clock. The Giants went a long ways. They beat the Indians before losing to the Panthers. But even they had a pretty good base team. And Lee Evelyn is who the Pirates have selected. Very good player, probably should have gone earlier, honestly. Pick 107 is now, the Techs are now on the clock. Here's the Techs are going to go for here. Carolina Keller is who the Techs are going with. 60, that's only a 67 overall player. It's a shocker that some of these players are getting picked over players that are much higher overall rated. Carolina Keller. The Supermen are now on the clock. selected by the Superman. Lennon Cobb. We're getting close to the end of round 3. Chargers are now on the clock. We have 12 picks left in the round, in this round. Some of these players for some reason didn't. Bert Wickinson. Is selected by the Chargers. And the Knights are now on the clock. Kim Strokes is who the Knights have selected. One of the last players available. And the Dogs are now on the clock. Christy Jennings. Surprisingly, Christy Jennings has not selected one of the highest defensive players available. period in the draft. Maybe she wasn't as good as we thought we were because she didn't go in round 3. And the Browns are now on the clock twice because they're going to get 2 picks out of this. Rick, the first pick goes to Rick. And now the Browns are on the clock again. And the Browns Maggie Koch. The Otters are now on the clock. Rosemary Sproulings. Rosemary Sproulings selected. Teams are going a lot faster now. We're only about an hour through the draft right now. The Colts are now on the clock. Brent Martin. They did not give me a break. And it will be Brent Martin. Or Brina Martin. Packers are now on the clock. Orlando Paul. That is who the Packers have gone for. Orlando Paul. Yes, that's a male. The Panthers are now on the clock. Actually, good selection. The Panthers have selected Gene Katz. I think honestly probably a much better selection than they made for the other first two rounds. Tigers are now on the clock. The Tigers have selected Caesar Knox. And the Indians are now on the clock. Kate Rogers is who the Indians have gone with. And final pick in this round is the Huskies. Huskies are now on the clock. Sheila Hodges, who the Huskies have selected. then for a minute or two before the next round will be activated when we started. Stars are now on the clock. We're in the last round. There are 40 picks left. Stars are on the clock. And Michelle Fields is who the Stars are going to go with. Very good player for the team to go for. Confirmed. The Bears are now on the clock. Jez Hunt is the Bears selection. The Warriors are now on the clock. Ted Graves. Confirmed, the Kings are now on the clock. Miguel Doug is the Kings selection. And the Lightning are now on the clock. Lightning have selected Jeannie World. Randall, I think. The Huskies traded earlier. The Huskies are now on the clock. Jimmy Shepard is who the Huskies are going to go with. And the Legends are now on the clock. Frank Wilder. Very good player for the third round, or fourth round rather. And the Dolphins are now on the clock. Elizabeth York. Dragons are on the clock. And when there will be a video probably next year that will talk about how I think each team's going to do based on what they drafted this year. And their strength schedule and everything. And Ada Gilmore finally gets selected. took a pretty long time for her to finally get selected. Took until round 4 to get for her selection. The werewolves are on the clock. Werewolf select Terry Phillips, 65 overall. Bit surprised. And the Ravens are now on the clock. With 30 picks to go. Dora Green. Never mind, they changed their mind. They're going with Lon Roland. Lon Roland. The Bulldogs are now on the clock. Doris McLee, selected by the Bulldogs. Doris McLee. Took long enough to get him out there. The Bulldogs select him in round 4. Falcons are now on the clock. Mandy Wash. That's who they are going to select. Mandy Wash is who they selected. the Bobcats are now on the clock. .27 picks left to go. Crystal McLeaf. I guess since they have already been looking, it's like, hey, we're going to go pick this player before we get into it. Christy McLeaf. McLean. Sorry, McLean. Not McLeaf. And the Angels are now on the clock. Robbie Wild, selected by the Angels. Robbie Wiley. And the Foxes are now on the clock. Foxes are chasing, I've quickly says Craig Sims. And UNC is now on the clock. Della Allen is UNC selection. Very good selection, especially for round 4. It's a steal for them. Saints are now on the clock. Cody Woodard. Cody Woodard. Interesting selection for a 4th round pick. They don't have any more picks, so that is their last pick for this. It's going to be the Jets on the clock. I don't think any other teams have any more picks, so There are only 22 picks remaining. Browns have 2 picks because of some trades they made, but they're back-to-back picks, so. Clint Heath surprisingly did not go earlier. I'm going to definitely check that. Nope. Clint Heath. There was a Clinton that went earlier, but Clint Heath hadn't been selected. So the Jets are getting a really big steal in round 4. If the Beagles are now on the clock. And they're going to get a steal too, I think. The Beagles are getting Tracy Good. Pretty good player too as well. Especially for round 4. That was the Cardinals not... Wait, what? No, that was the Cardinals that selected her. My bad. It is not just that it was the Cardinals, not the Bengals. The Bengals are next. Now the Bengals are on the clock. Bethany Weber is who the Bengals are going to select. Yes, sir. It's a good selection. The Lions are now on the clock. There might be a few good players still left. So I would say they go in and snap it on whoever it is, because whoever it is going to get a lot. McCall Horn is who the Lions are going to select for their last selection. The Leland Cats are on our clock for their last pick. D. Snyder to the Leland Cats. We'll take probably the last 91 overall player was in there. 84 overall, but and for offensive side, that's a great player. The 8th in are now on the clock. Jennifer Crane. Jennifer Crane. Selected by the 8th in, the Giants are now on the clock. Giants have selected Kenneth Bell. Kenneth Bell. Surprisingly, probably should have gone a lot earlier. The Pirates are now on the clock. Selection is Carl Clements. Carl Clements. And the Techs are now on the clock for their last pick. Clara English. See who the Techs are going to go with. interesting selection. The Supermen are now on the clock. There are 13 picks left. Claire Richardson. So the Supermen are going to take. I'll tell you, since there's very few players left, it's not surprising to me that they're going so quickly. They're making their decision. Chargers are now on the clock. Chargers are now done with the game, done with their picks, and they have selected Ann Mayer. The Knights are now on the clock. Yes, okay. The Knights selected, without hesitation, Kevin Bolton. Didn't take them long to figure that out, but there we go. The Dogs, for their last pick, are now on the clock. Brent Gardner. And the Browns have the next two selections, and the last two selections for them. Yes, if you want to, I guess. That's up to you. Brown decided to go ahead and make their selections that happen to be right next to each other, so they went ahead and went with these two players, Christine Wolf, or Clarwin Wolf, and Christine Lawrence. They happen to be right next to each other. That would be the third and fourth picks, which means Browns are on the clock and the Browns are not on the clock anymore, so it goes to the Otters. Otters' last pick. And they're on the clock. The Otters selected Gilbert Brants. The Colts are now on the clock. They're now 6 picks left after the Colts with picks with that one. And the Colts select Terrence Zamora. Don't want to pronounce that last name. Packers are on the clock for their last pick. You know who to pick? Yeah. Assuming he's not selected right here. Yeah, I got you. And the Packers have done their last player. Packers. Have selected Anders Woodruff. And the Panthers are on the clock. Dora Greeny. That's right. Okay. She's in the studio on the other side of the room here. And Dora Greeny is a very good player. I'm very happy that she selected her because I think she might have missed the first 3 picks. You can't see her because we are have a contract with players. We're not supposed to have them able to see them. So Tigers are on the clock. Tigers select Dick Flowers. They were unable to be here live, so they had told me which 3 players they wanted to get. One of the players went already. The second player didn't go, but they don't get 1 pick, so they went with Dick Flowers. That was their second pick on the context. And the Indians are now on the clock. We'll put it as they gave me 4 players. I went and say what the player was for it. And Frank Lara is what the Indians are going to go with. No, they're going with Pasty Kept. And their last pick, and the Huskies had the very last pick. I'm just going to go ahead and they have 5 minutes to make their selection. It's the last pick. There are a lot of players still remaining, so they can get choose of any of the remaining 340 players, I think, that are left. They're going to take their time to figure out this one because this is the last pick in the NBL draft. It's only taking about 2 hours. I'm going to want to find the Huskies. There we go. Huskies have selected Lily McKnight as the final pick in the NBL draft. And that means the NBL draft is now complete. I want you guys to know, for people that do want to take over a team for later, is that these players are all available, and they're going to be available on this sheet. I'm not going to change anything about it until the end of the season, probably midway through the season. I'll go ahead and remove all these players that have been picked onto a team, and then those players will all be up there eventually. That is the end of the NBL draft. It took about an hour and 50 minutes. It took a little bit less time today. There's still a lot of players out there, and any of the players can still be signed up until the season starts. That is going to be it for this stream, for this that is going to be it for the NBL. I'm going to go ahead and move myself to the other stream here. Yeah. So that's going to be it for this, for the stream and the NBL draft for 2025. It's 2024 right now. It's 2025 is the season we're doing it for now. The season begins officially on the 15th of February. So it's just going to be slightly, I think that the Super Bowl is right before that, right? There'll be videos down before that. February 9th. So it would be about a week before the season starts, a week after that occurs. And right now it looks to me like it's going to be, it's a red and a green, so I don't know what that's going to mean, because they've been putting some predictions in here. What's interesting? Oh, that means it's going to be the, that means they're predicting that's going to be the Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl. Oh boy. But anyways, that is it for this stream. I want to go and let you guys know for, I'm going to close that now. That there's going to be some other videos that will occur. Checking the calendar for next year. I haven't really put together when it's. There's no stream. There was no stream for these shooters because I had to cover this part. Next year, there will be streams as well, but I'm not going to probably put them together. I'll put them together before the week before, and then the next one will be that will be occurring. Will probably be the burn the deck for the NBA for the ends. That's the end for the NBL draft. Thank you guys for watching. Or for anyone that watched it later, I'll see you guys in the next video.